Hi, everyone, and welcome to this discussion, or rather, it's not a discussion because you're listening regarding spirituality and leadership. My name is Tazim Elkington. I am an evolutionary disruptor, paradigm shifter, a leadership speaker, a leadership trainer, and a management consultant. And apart from this, I am also a talk therapist, a hypnotherapist, a regression therapist, and a psychosomatic therapist. I'm also a writer and a poet. And I've been invited to speak regarding this topic on spirituality and leadership. The reason I chose this topic is because it's really, really important that we understand moving forward that the kind of leadership we have mostly and the kind of understanding of leadership in spiritual circles is now evolving. What does that mean? Why is spiritual leadership important to be understood and to be embraced as we go past 2020 and all the challenges with COVID and with the world shutting down, with all the social distancing and restrictions and limitations that have been imposed on humanity? So, what is and how does one understand what spiritual leadership is? So, spirituality is about raising one's level of awareness, levels of the consciousness that one is operating from, levels of understanding oneself and understanding others. Leaders are people who know how to keep a balance within themselves and impact the people around them. So, what is the balance that we're talking about? The balance is really about looking at one's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual components so that one is very clear about how each one of these components is nurtured. So when it comes to mental and emotional, which are pretty closely tied in, it is essential that leaders are able to examine themselves at the innermost core level and heal their past wounds. Because leaders that are wounded will wound all the people around them. So it is essential and important that leaders do the self-work, not only to heal their wounds, but to raise their level of consciousness and awareness. Now, how does one do that? So if we look from the physical aspect, one has to be aware that the body contains and retains all emotions and experiences. The body and mind retain all of these from the past. So if there are wounds from the past, if there are issues from the past that are unhealed, it is essential that therapy is done, help is asked for, and these wounds are healed so that the emotional aspect of the leader is in balance. Because if a leader is not in balance where their emotional quotient is concerned, they will not be able to manage themselves or manage other people. Mentally, of course, it's the same thing again. If those wounds are contained in the subconscious mind, they require healing. Now, when we consider the physical part, it is essential to make sure that you eat well and, if possible, a more plant-based diet, and that you have some sort of activity on a daily basis. because you need to move the body in order for it to stay healthy. When we look at the spiritual part, we now realize that we've become so caught up in all the distractions. I mean, technology has its pluses and its minuses. And the pluses are that we have survived this entire year due to technology. We've survived because we've been able to have Zoom meetings, we've been able to communicate on WhatsApp, we've been able to call each other, we've been able to message each other. However, we also need to understand that technology can be extremely distracting, and we can spend, 12 hours a day getting completely distracted with messaging and meetings and the rest of it. So being busy is not a good way to live. And it is essential that authentic leaders, that are progressive and looking at creating healthy environments for their organizations and for their staff, actually consider learning a meditation practice. The meditation practice, over and above doing therapy, helps leaders to remain balanced. So understanding that tomorrow's leaders, or today's leaders rather, that will carry on being tomorrow's leaders, need to understand the really important and necessary actions to take to balance these parts. What are leadership values? This was something else that I decided to partake. And we look at values from the point of view that our values come from a place where we were told how and what values to believe in. Now, most values were learned in a rather distorted way. And when I say distorted, it means that either we were taught values in a reverse values way, or we were not taught them, we learned them through observation or through being told. It's now really important to consider what 3, 4, 5 values you as a leader will choose to embrace. And when you decide which values there are, because there are over 1,000 values that are available for one to choose from. So as a leader, it's really, really important to set a true example by selecting the values that impact yourself and impact the people around you and the people you're leading. So the first value is authenticity. What does authenticity mean? Authenticity means being true to oneself and being true to others, being really authentic in all your communication, being authentic in your interactions, being authentic and to your clients. And authenticity doesn't end with any person. Authenticity becomes a way of life. So it is essential and suggested that leaders choose authenticity as a value of great importance. So some research needs to be done, and then that value needs to be embraced fully. The other value that's really important is integrity. And integrity means that what you think, what you say, and what you do are all in alignment. So again, start to practice integrity, because without integrity, you cannot really be a true leader. Transparency. There's a lot of clicks in businesses, and those clicks are actually not very healthy. So in order to have a healthy environment and workspace, it is important that people practice transparency. Leaders practice transparency, meaning that when things are not working, when things are not happening, when delivery is not being done, when performance is affected, to call people and be able to speak about this openly, So transparency means being able to say things without talking behind people's back, without, calling people out without proper facts, or because somebody reported someone else. All those things have to become really decadent because they're out of date. Responsibility. A leader cannot be irresponsible. Simple as that. And lastly, a leader has to really practice being completely equal. Equality is something that a leader must practice day in and day out. So that's a little bit on leadership values. It's really important for a leader to be emotionally intelligent, meaning that they have to understand their own emotions and the emotions of people around. And that means that if you don't understand your own emotions, it's not possible for you to understand other people's emotions. So being emotionally intelligent is really necessary. And emotional intelligence comes with a whole beautiful bouquet of learning that one can do through courses, through workshops, through examining, through identifying. I offer all of this, by the way. So emotional intelligence is really an inherent part of a good spiritual leader. So mindfulness, meditation, and balance are really important as we move forward for leaders. And leaders need to understand that their staff, their groups, their teams depend on them to be visionaries. So if you're short-sighted, or if you are not thinking long-term, and we can only think up to a certain point. COVID has taught us this. COVID has made it very, very clear that long-term planning is not something that's easy to do. And it's not something that we can hold on to like a brick, because things are evolving, things are changing, and we do not even really know the depth of how things are going to change. COVID has come as a gift and a curse, because for those people who are entrenched in working 12-hour days, not paying attention to their families, not paying attention to their children, not paying attention to their partners, not paying attention to themselves, have had to wake up to the fact that, life is not just work, and life is not just about going like a robot. It is time for people to examine that life is far more than all these ideas we've become caught up in. And these ideas that we're here to make money, and money is ultimately God, or whatever creator you believe in, it's not true. Life is transient. We are born, we will die. And if we're born and we will die, then what are we doing in between that place of birth and death? And now is the time to examine that seriously. So it is about putting meaning in our lives. And putting meaning in our lives means creating balance, means really defining the difference between what matters and what doesn't matter, what is important and what is not important. Because when you die, no one's going to write on your tombstone that you have X million dollars or million shillings in your bank account. They're going to say, here's a person that did or was X, Y, and Z. So we're not here to create long legacies either, because once you're gone, you're gone. However, how you live and how you choose to live is in your power, is your responsibility. and how you treat yourself and how you treat others is within your grasp. So if you do not question and examine your current state of life, your current position, your current requirements, you will not be able to change to suit the evolving nature of business and today's world. I sincerely, sincerely wish for you to consider this, consider what I've said, because I've been doing this. I was caught up for many years. I was caught up just like many leaders. And when I decided that it was time to stop and to start a different path and to evolve in a different way, it changed my life. It made me become a completely different person. It made me live a different life. And I am absolutely grateful, so grateful to have had the opportunity to make these changes. And it doesn't matter what age you're at, it doesn't matter what stage you're at, you're capable of making these changes, of making these shifts. So please, for more information, look at my website, Tazim, TAZIM.net. And whether you contact me or not, contact someone in your area, contact someone close, make these changes, make these shifts in your life, and become an authentic leader who practices transparency, responsibility, integrity, and also make yourself emotionally intelligent. I trust that this short sharing will help you, and I wish you all the best. Thank you very much.